Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the new Disney movie, Young Woman and the Sea. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider liking and subscribing. That way I don't have to attempt to swim the English Channel. The synopsis is as follows. Through the steadfast support of her older sister and trainers, Trudy Ederle overcomes adversity and the animosity of a patriarchal society to rise through the ranks of the Olympic swimming team and complete a 21-mile trek from France to England. So without further ado, let's get into the 6 things that make a movie great. 1. The plot. First and foremost, this movie is based on a true story. When I looked into the details of the true story and how accurate this film represents that, there are 2 kind of bigger changes that add more drama to the story. One has to do with the amount of time between her attempts swimming the English Channel, which I think their change actually benefited the movie quite a bit, but the other had to do with how well she did in her earlier achievements. And I didn't really like that change because it doesn't tell the truth of how well she did in some of these circumstances, and I don't think that they needed to do that. Other than that, this movie stays very close to the true story, which is a very incredible one. Trudy has to overcome a bunch of things holding her back, both natural and patriarchal, in order to pursue her desire of swimming, which she happens to be really good at. And getting to watch her on this journey as she goes from zero to hero is absolutely incredible. The trip that you go on from start to finish is very well done, and the ending was great. I love stories like this. I love when they stay close to the true story, and it ended up being a nice, heartwarming film throughout. So for me, plot gets a thumbs up. Also, I don't know why Google says this movie is a romance drama. There's barely any romance in this movie, so I'd say it's more a historical drama or adventure drama. 2 is family friendliness. Young Woman and the Sea is rated PG. I think there's 1 or 2 cuss words in this movie that are mild, and you see a dude's butt a couple times in non-sexual circumstances. There also is a major subtone of having to fight the patriarchy in this movie. That's the way it was, and so it depicts it very well. On that note though, what I appreciate is it's not an all-men bad movie. There are good men in this movie who treated women the way that they should. There are also men that clearly represented how things were back then and why things needed to change. They did it very tastefully and represented it accurately, so for me, family friendliness gets a thumbs up. 3 is acting and script. I am a huge fan of Daisy Ridley, and I think she is an extremely underrated actress. Whenever she's on screen, she is absolutely charming and does an excellent job in this film. She was the clear standout for me in this film, but all the other acting performances were good for the most part. And that's mostly true of the script. There were a handful of funny, quotable lines in this movie that I really enjoyed. On the flip side of that though, there seemed to be several moments of dialogue between characters that had shallow conversation instead of having the depth that it needed to build those characters, which felt off because this movie had good dialogue between characters, and I don't know if that was because of runtime or what, but it did affect the overall storytelling of this movie a couple times. Other than that though, I enjoyed what I was seeing on screen, so for me, acting and script get a 50-50. 4 is character development. What I loved about the character development of Trudy in this film is that you got to see her develop into the incredible swimmer that she was. I know the temptation in a lot of recent films is just to have the hero already have everything they need, and there's no incredible journey they have to go on to become the hero. They already are it. In this film, you get to see Trudy develop into that hero and come across some pretty major challenges along the way. So the character development we got to see with her was great. And she had some great character building moments with several of the characters in this movie, including her sister Meg. However, there also was a lack of character development in this movie with several characters that, again, didn't make sense. And because that was not the norm for this film, it did stand out. For example, there was an interaction between her and her sister after a little time had passed where everything had changed and the development just wasn't there, and it felt very out of place. There's also the character of Benji, who's another English Channel swimmer, and the movie kind of tells you that they're supposed to be friends, but it does not do a great job of developing his character or showing that friendship grow. The only thing that makes sense to me is they wanted to reduce the runtime, but I feel like there's other ways they could have done that in order to keep the continuity of character development the same. And it's because of those several moments of abrupt development or progression or lack of character development that affected the overall tone of this movie. So for me, character development gets a 50-50. 5 is visuals and CGI. This area of the film is pretty plain because that's not why you're watching this movie, it's for the story. That being said, visually, I liked the colors and the shots that I saw on screen. There were a couple shots, especially near the end of the movie, that I thought were very effective, and there was nothing that stood out to me. So for me, visuals and CGI get a thumbs up. And 6 is rewatchability. Young Woman and the Sea is 2 hours and 9 minutes long. And though this is a longer movie, you enjoyed the journey you went on to see what happens at the end. I did do a time check in this movie just to see where I was at, and was surprised to find that I was not even halfway through it, but I wasn't dreading having to sit there for another hour. Even though there were a couple areas that I wish this movie would have done better in, I love watching these kind of films, and I don't get tired of it. So for me, your rewatchability gets a thumbs up. With all these areas considered, I have to give Young Woman in the Sea a 6.5 out of 10. This movie had a couple lapses in character development, storytelling, and script. And the film did change one thing that I thought didn't need to be changed. But Daisy Ridley had a great performance. A lot of the character interactions were very charming and fun. And this movie did a great job telling the incredible true story of Trudy Ederle, the first woman to swim the English Channel. If you enjoy heartwarming true stories, you'll definitely want to check out Young Woman in the Sea on Disney+. Thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Young Woman in the Sea, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your love and support, and I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one.